I had 4 police, 2 child protection workers, an Aboriginal liaison officer turn up at my front door, arrest my partner, stuck around the house. It made me feel angry, upset. It made me feel hurt. It made me feel inferior. And I was just mind blown.
First time I found out that child protection were getting involved was I went to the post office one day and got a letter, and I opened it saying that back then it was DHHS was trying to get in contact with me via the phone, and they couldn't get in touch with me. So they're sending me a letter saying, we've received an unborn report. Please contact us urgently. So I didn't know what it was, like so naive. Like I'd had an ultrasound a couple of weeks before, and because I was a bit older in my pregnancy, I was stressing something was wrong. So I actually thought there was something wrong with my baby.
When Child Protection first got in contact with me and my family and my newborn child, I was very overwhelmed. Very more stressed. I just became a new mother. I was monitored in hospital for up to 2 weeks just to see if I had mother skills. It was a little bit overwhelming. However, I had my family support. So my mother was there when we gave my son the first bath. They helped me a lot. And then basically I just tried to block it and think, well, I don't care. I've done nothing wrong. At the end of the day, I was a victim of family violence.
Well, what happened with me is that I got a phone call when I was on the train, and the police officer said to me it was in regards to my son. And so I went to the police station and went in there, and I was greeted by a police officer. And then after that, there was 2 DFFH workers right there with me discussing that my son has made allegations in regards to me.
Actually, I got in contact with Child Protection. I had an array of emotions. I was anxious, I was scared. The reason why I got in contact with Child Protection was because I had fled family violence from my ex-husband. I relocated to Victoria, and I allowed my children to return to their father for a Christmas visitation. The children were assaulted throughout that visitation, not by the father, but they were assaulted. So I contacted Child Protection to find out what my options were. Whenever I rang Child Protection, I always found that I was being listened to. I was being heard, not just listened, but I was being heard. The staff members were trying to assist me as best they could.
When I spoke to DFFH in regards to all this, I asked them if I could speak to my son. I need to speak to him, and they wouldn't let me at all speak to my son, and I didn't understand why. And all I was told is, no, he doesn't want to see you.
At the time that my 6th child was coming, Child Protection were thinking about reunificating one of my children. Due to her behaviours, they said that they're going to be involved in the baby's life. And the worker that I had right through my pregnancy, and she was really, really fantastic. She understood that I'm just trying my hardest. It was a new pregnancy with a new man, new life, obviously I had changed and they could see it. She was just wonderful. She did everything she could to help me, and everything she did resulted in me, after I gave birth, keeping my child.
So having my worker on board through Launch Housing has been a great support, because it's a third party, it's an outsource, and he's helped a lot with DHS. I had more control with my worker involved, because he would do peer support and advocate for me and my family and the whole situation.
They're saying they tried to contact me. No one contacted me. There was no missed calls. There was nothing. So you didn't try hard. Like, even, I don't know, come to the house. Like, I'm sure there was lots of other things than just send me a letter.
I had child protection and rapid response come out to my home. Rapid response were wonderful. The only thing was that I noticed with child protection, I felt that I wasn't really being listened to. I had one worker just typing on the computer, taking notes, not making eye contact with me, and the other lady was sitting there trying to be quite regiment in what she was trying to discuss with me.
I felt gutted. I felt lost. I felt heartbroken. I just felt everything has just fallen into a heap, and I just didn't know how to get out of it. And I was confused.
When the children were removed, there was no Aboriginal liaison officer. When Kendall was born, there was no Aboriginal liaison officer. There was no Aboriginal liaison officer when they talked to us in the room, and there was no Aboriginal support officer or liaison officer with us at court or any way through this process.
So yes, child protection causes a lot more stress than you need, especially being a new mother. Your body's going through hormonal changes. You're also adapting to the way of life of, waking up every couple of hours, feeding your child, getting into routine.
Yeah, just more open, like language that we can understand, that I would have known what was going on, instead of just the panic for 2 days, what's going on. Letter, and I rang and I spoke to them and had a big conversation, and I said to them, what happens now? Am I on file? Like, what happens? And they said, no, we're just ringing to see if you need any supports. And I said, no, I don't. So that was when I was 6 months pregnant. So, okay, I'm thinking everything's okay. The rest of my pregnancy, all good, until I had my baby. I was all happy. I've got a newborn baby. And then night 2, a nurse came in 2 o'clock in the morning to check my baby's temperature, that everything was okay. And she just said to me, oh yeah, DHS coming to see you tomorrow. And I just looked stunned, and what do you mean?
When you go into clinical labs, you must show your ID. They will do a DULL screen, which is for DHS. These screens cost a lot of money. I had no car at the time. I had to get my child to and from school by foot. I used to travel to the groceries with a little nonna trolley. And it was very stressing and daunting. And then at the beginning, I was told if you go to a lab and they don't have a test kit, you can get a certificate of compliance. So my last worker told me that that certificate of compliance is not good enough and will be seen as a dirty screen. So she made me run miles. So I'd have to go to Broadmeadows, to Coolaroo. If they didn't have tests, I'd have to go to Moreland Road, all on transport. It was very stressful. It was very overwhelming. I was happy to do what they wanted, but they weren't providing me support or understanding that at the end of the day, I still am a mother. I still have duty of care for my house, my son, meal times, and it all got overwhelming.
I was very confused on why this was occurring and not getting answers from DFFH, and trying to work out why this has happened and how it's become of this so deeply and so heartbreaking for the whole family. And I just wanted to find answers to say, why has he been taken? what's going on? What have we done? And there was nothing. No one could answer any questions to me. And it took nearly 6 months until I had a proper worker for them to start talking to me.
At the peak of my involvement with child protection, I had 2 pre-teens that had a lot of mental health issues. We're a family that have got complex needs and disabilities. So I would have one child that would use their fists and one child that would use weapons. I was not coping at all. My stress levels, my PTSD was through the roof. We were all triggering each other. And I spent the best part of 15, 20 years being in survival mode. I had child protection come into the home. They informed me that I was sitting at a number 2 on their scale. Number 1 means that they would remove my children from the home. Whilst it was reassuring to know that I was not at that stage of having my children removed, it was also an eye-opener for me that my family life was quite severe. On the other hand, they also said to me that I was doing everything that they would ask of me and that they couldn't really offer me anything else to do in my situation.
So I gave birth to my 6th child on a Friday. I had to have a Cat 3 emergency C-section, 3 weeks, 1 day early. I had the nurse, after I came back from the operation, turn around and inform me that she had to ring child protection due to me being red flagged. She said that child protection had told her that I was to stay in hospital until Monday. On the Monday, I had the social worker turn up. She informed me that child protection was on their way and that she had put them in a different room so that they didn't have to be in the general ward and make me feel inferior and upset and hurt and cause any stress to me and the baby. The social worker had also organised the baby to be put up at the front desk with the nurses, and she proceeded to walk me and my partner around to the room to talk to child protection. I cannot thank that social worker enough, considering that my last child was ripped out from underneath me.
One day I just received a text message out of the blue from a number I didn't know saying, "Hi, it's such and such from DHS. I'm just wanting to organise a time to cite your children." So those words did not impress me very much. So straight away I'm sending a text message back, "Who are you and what do you mean you want to cite my children? Like, my children aren't property, they're my kids."
Positive would be when they started to listen and realize, you know, we don't need to be involved anymore. I've got enough family support. I don't need the extra stress. I had their team leader come out, which I have spoken to previously because I was sick of the child protection worker and I wanted it to be basically all under a case. There's not many positives. The positives are you changing and doing what you need to do for your child and your family.
I felt very angry, very hurt, very confused, and understanding why she's here. There's so many other people that have done so much more. And I didn't understand why she was here and asking me these silly questions and asking me how I am. How I am? What do you think? You've just taken my child. What more do you want? What more heartbreaking do you need to know? I just want my son back home.
My family reached crisis point. I had one child admitted to the psychiatric ward at Monash Children's Hospital. Once we were released from the hospital, I had a care team supporting me. I had child protection and rapid response come out to my home. Rapid response were wonderful. The only thing was that I noticed with child protection is that they were not mindful that my children were in earshot of what was being said. So that was quite disturbing for myself.
When we turned up at home, the child protection worker got my son out of the car. My partner, being a first-time dad, wanted that grace of carrying the baby over the threshold to his new home. And the child protection worker proceeded to carry our son in, checked the bedroom to make sure that the bassinet and everything else was set up for him, and that made us feel hurt and angry, and just basically felt like we couldn't do anything right.
The deputy area manager rang me to say that she was leaving the department, so she'd be off the case and there'd be a new worker. So she explained what her new job would be, and I congratulated her, like, oh, how exciting. And she actually said she'd like to thank me for actually making her get off her butt and do this, because working with me, it actually inspired her. And I taught her things of, you know, what's going on, that things, everyone's story is different and people needed to be treated different. And, you know, there needs to be more help with women with family violence and things like that. So I inspired her to move on to a different role.
One thing Child Protection could do better would be have an Aboriginal section of Child Protection where there's Aboriginal workers there for Aboriginal families.
In my experience, I feel that Child Protection need to be more aware. I'm not saying that they're not aware, but need to be more aware that family violence isn't just between a husband and wife or partners. It also includes children against children, children against parents. That was my situation. I feel that the understanding wasn't fully there, that maybe they're not equipped for that situation, and offering supports in a more broader range would have been more helpful for me.
I had to go through a family violence service. I had to do some counselling to realise that family violence is not acceptable on any level. No person, woman, man, child should be manhandled. We have a mouth and we should use that to speak. So in the past, I had thought, you know, okay, this is acceptable. He's a European man. That's how he was brought up. I've just got to go with it. But it's not acceptable on any level. And there has to be a point in our lives where one of us, you know, myself, say no more. This is the end to family violence. My family will not be put through this anymore. My child will not be put through this, and I will not be put through this, because I'm better than that and I deserve to be treated right with respect and humanity.
I would ask them to treat every story and every family as individual, because everyone's story is different. Every person is different. You can't go by textbook things. Oh, she said this, so she must mean that. It's not like that. You have to look at things differently to get better outcomes than instead of just putting everyone in this same box. It's not going to work because you can't fit everyone in the same box. So if you treat everyone how they should be treated, it'll be easier for everyone, the parents, the kids, the workers. Everyone will be much easier than just labeling them from the start.
Be human. Have feelings. Realise what these people are going through. It's awful. It's, you know, I don't know how to put it all in one. It's just be normal and be a normal human being and understand people for who they are. Stop judging.